Welcome into PFF HQ. Austin Gayle here with Sam Monson, and we're ready to talk clutch players. This list will be coming out on the website on Friday of players that have played 100 or more snaps in the fourth quarter in one-score games during the regular season last year. That's clutch for us. Players when the game is on the line in the fourth quarter that make plays, and this list is comprised of a lot of great names.
Yeah, it's one of the most fun things about the PFF database is you can start diving in, you can start filtering, you can start pulling up these exact sort of scenarios. You don't have to just use this guesswork. Is this guy a clutch player? I remember a few big moments where he turned up. You can actually start diving in, say exactly what we did. Fourth quarter, one-score games, the time where everything is on the line, and figure out exactly who the best players are statistically and using the PFF grades.
Absolutely. It's not he caught that one big touchdown that one game. It creates a larger sample size, 100 or more snaps in the fourth quarter in those one-score games. So you're actually able to determine how well this guy plays when the game's on the line, when you need him most. And I think a big thing about the list, which the full list will come out on Friday, as previously mentioned, it's a lot of already great players. Not a lot of surprises on this list. It's the Aaron Donalds, Tom Brady's, Julio Jones of the world. Those guys we're going to dive into. These guys are all already known as great players, regardless of the quarter, regardless of what the score differential is. And I think it's exciting to see that those guys also come up big in this, in these clutch moments of the games. To kick off the list, let's talk Tom Brady. Arguably the most clutch quarterback of all time. He's a winningest quarterback from Super Bowl standpoint. He's a very, very good quarterback in terms of what he's done in the postseason. I think that combined with what he's able to do when the game's on the line in those one-score games and final drives, he does a very good job.
Yeah, that's the fun thing about the players we're going to talk about is that it does just reinforce exactly what you thought about these guys. Anyway, if they're great generally, they're probably going to be great when clutch matters. But also, these guys are known as clutch players by and large, and that's exactly what we're seeing here. Tom Brady has the highest clutch grade of any of these quarterbacks. But what's really remarkable is that his grade, it's right up there above 90 when it comes to clutch play as well. He's at the same level. It doesn't drop off. Almost everybody else, whether they're good clutch quarterbacks or not, their grade is lower. The fourth quarter with that one-score game, when everything is on the line, most players see some kind of dip in their performance when it comes to quarterback. Brady is just the same guy. It's like it doesn't change anything about him. He just goes about his day-to-day business and still gets the job done, and that's probably why he's the best clutch quarterback maybe of all time, certainly of the recent era.
The definition of ice in your veins. When the play matters most in these late in games, Tom Brady has proven time and time again in the postseason and in the regular season that he gets the job done, and I think that is what's rooted in that 90-plus overall grade in that in those one-score games in the fourth quarter. Going to a wide receiver that gets criticized for his lack of work in the red zone, lack of touchdowns, all of this stuff, never Julio or whatever it may be. But this guy comes up in the fourth quarter a ton, earned the highest clutch grade, overall grade in the fourth quarter of one-score games this past season. I think that is incredible to see.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think this whole sort of fantasy landscape world gets Julio Jones a bit of a bad rap because for whatever reason, he hasn't converted all those big plays into touchdowns for large periods of his career. And people hate that because the touchdowns are the thing that's getting you the fantasy points. That's why you're not winning your league with Julio. Where are those touchdowns? But when you look at the big plays he's making down in, down out every single game, his PFF grade is always spectacular. He's always among the top 2-3 wide receivers in the NFL. And then when you limit it to these clutch situations, he still is the guy that comes up big for the Atlanta Falcons, whether it results in a touchdown or not. To him, he's the guy making the plays in the biggest situations of the game. And again, his grade is a fair distance above anybody else. Almost everybody else sees that drop. Not Julio. It's right up there around that 90 mark again.
What's so impressive with Julio Jones, and I think we look at it after every season, is he is always either first or second in yards per out run. A very efficient wide receiver that doesn't get fully captured in fantasy football because he's not scoring the touchdowns or however it may be. But this guy is so efficient and targeted at such a high volume that he makes the best of what's on the field. He makes the best of every route. He's such a great separator, great contested catch guy, and I think that yards per out run average is maintained in the fourth quarter, and a big reason why he's so clutch in those. He's creating conversions. Maybe they're not touchdowns, but he's moving the chains and being efficient with his route running. Defensive side of the ball, a guy that probably belongs on every good list at Pro Football Focus. It's Aaron Donald. You've seen that in this past season, how good he is when the game's on the line. You love him for the first 3 quarters, and I think in the last quarter as well, he does a very good job.
Yeah, Donald is in that stratosphere that J.J. Watt was in during his spectacular run a few years ago, where every single number you look at, every single way you slice the numbers, every single subset you take in, Donald is head and shoulders above anybody else. He's just in a league all by himself when it comes to play on the defensive interior in the NFL. And again, he has the highest grade when it comes to clutch play in those fourth quarter games with 1 score. What's interesting, though, is there's a couple of guys that are kind of breathing down his neck. They're on his heels, Fletcher Cox and Kawan Short. Fletcher Cox in particular, we talked about how if it wasn't for Aaron Donald last year, Fletcher Cox would get a lot more press because he was spectacular a season ago, himself head and shoulders above any other interior defender. But Donald is there just another level again. But Kawan Short right up there when you look at this kind of clutch subset of play.
Looking at Aaron Donald, I'm glad you brought up whatever number you look at, he's good. I was writing an article about him recently, and you look at, how's his pass rush win percentage on 3rd and 4th down? The best. On early downs, the best. Overall, the best. Fourth quarter, it just over and over again. And then you look at best pass rush win percentages in the last 5 years, single season. It's Aaron Donald 1, Fletcher Cox 2, Aaron Donald, Aaron Donald, Aaron Donald. It's him every time. It's incredible. He's in a different league. It really is in a different league. I'm glad you brought up the J.J. Watt comparison. When J.J. Watt was winning Defensive Player of the Year every year, that's where Aaron Donald was, maybe even a little bit better. And I think to see that translate into the fourth quarter and 1-score games, that adds value to your wins above replacement. Being able to come up in those games and produce at a level that nearly quarterback levels from a WAR perspective is impressive. And I think so excited to see him continue to play at what we think is his premier part of his career, that peak of his career. It's exciting to see him, what he's doing, and his clutch performances game after game. Well, this has been Sam Monson and Austin Gayle. To see the full article, go ahead and go to profootballfocus.com. And while you're there, subscribe to our Edge or Elite subscription to get all the advanced stats, the clutch grades, and other grades we speak to. Thank you.